Welcome, and let the world grow soft and quiet around you. As your breathing slows, all on its own, imagine our whole galaxy adrift upon a silent tide, the Milky Way and everything within it being drawn, ever so gently, across a vast ocean of darkness towards something immense and unseen. You feel nothing at all. The earth turns beneath you, the stars will slowly overhead, and all the while we are falling, softly and without a sound, toward a great and hidden weight far out in the deep. Tonight we will drift together toward that mystery, one gentle fact at a time, and wonder quietly at what it is that pulls us. There is nothing at all you need to hold on to now. Just breathe and let go, and welcome back to Beyond the Stars. The first fact is that the Great Attractor is a vast and mysterious concentration of mass, hidden far out in the deep dark, toward which our galaxy and many thousands of others are quietly drifting. It is not a single object you could ever point to, not a star or a world, but rather a great gravitational anomaly, a region of space that seems to gather galaxies toward itself the way water slides toward the low place in a valley. We cannot see it clearly, and for a long time we did not even know that it was there. Yet its gentle, patient pull reaches across hundreds of millions of light years, drawing our whole neighborhood of galaxies softly onward through the endless night, a silent invitation we have been answering since long before there was anyone here to feel it. The second fact is that the name itself, the Great Attractor, is really a kind of gentle confession, a way of admitting that we felt a pull long before we understood its source. In the language of astronomers, it is simply the name we gave to whatever it is that draws our galaxy and its companions in one particular direction across the sky. The word attractor tells you only what it does, and not what it is, and there is something honest and humble in that. For decades it has remained one of the great quiet puzzles of the cosmos, a thing known by its effect alone, felt but not truly seen, named for the tug it lays upon us rather than for any face we could recognize. The third fact is that the Great Attractor is not pulling only our galaxy, but a whole vast river of galaxies, all flowing together in the same gentle direction. Astronomers call this shared drift a bulk flow, an enormous, coordinated motion in which thousands of galaxies, across a region hundreds of millions of light-years wide, all seem to be sliding softly the same way. Imagine countless islands of stars, each with its billions of suns, all adrift on one slow and silent current. That is the picture the Great Attractor gives us, a great flowing of galaxies through the dark, all of them leaning, together, toward one hidden and distant place. The fourth fact is that this pull is a matter of gravity, the same quiet force that holds you softly to your bed tonight and keeps the moon circling the earth. Gravity does not shout or push. It only gathers, drawing every mass toward every other across whatever distance lies between. Where a great deal of matter has gathered in one place, its gravity reaches out further and pulls a little harder, and everything nearby leans gently toward it. The Great Attractor is simply such a place, a region where so much mass has collected that its slow, patient gravity can sway the motion of galaxies lying hundreds of millions of light-years away. The fifth fact is that our own Milky Way, that great wheel of some hundreds of billions of stars in which we live, is among the galaxies being carried along in this flow. We tend to think of our galaxy as fixed, a stable island in the night, but nothing in the cosmos truly stands still. The Milky Way is turning and drifting and being drawn, all at once, through the dark. And in one part of that grand motion, we are sliding steadily toward the Great Attractor, along with our nearest galactic neighbors, a small fleet of star islands sailing quietly together toward a shore we cannot yet see. The sixth fact is that the Great Attractor lies at a distance so immense that ordinary numbers begin to lose their meaning. something on the order of 150 to 250 million light-years away from us. A single light-year is already the distance light travels in a whole year, sweeping onward at 300,000 kilometers every second. Multiply that almost unthinkable span by 200 million, and you begin to sense the gulf that lies between us and the thing that pulls us. The light we might gather from that region tonight set out long before there were human beings to receive it, drifting quietly across the dark for a span longer than our whole history. The seventh fact is that although the Great Attractor tugs upon us, it will most likely never draw us all the way in, for the universe itself is expanding and carrying galaxies apart. Its pull is real and it shapes our motion, yet it works against the vast outward stretching of space. And so our journey toward it is less a fall than a lean, a gentle bias laid upon our drift through an ever-widening cosmos. We move toward it, and the space between us stretches, and the outcome of that quiet contest is written across billions of years. There is no sudden plunge, no danger, only the slow and stately mathematics of gravity and expanse. The eighth fact is that the Great Attractor is best understood not as a lonely lump of matter, but as the deep center of a much larger structure, a gathering place where the gravity of many things adds together. Galaxies in the cosmos are not scattered evenly, but strung along filaments and gathered into clusters, with great empty voids between. The Great Attractor sits where several of these strands seem to converge, a kind of low valley in the invisible landscape of gravity. Toward such a place, matter naturally drifts over the long ages, and so it becomes, quietly over time, a destination for whole rivers of galaxies flowing gently in. The ninth fact is that much of what makes the Great Attractor so massive may be invisible, made not of ordinary glowing matter but of the mysterious dark matter that fills the cosmos. For every gram of the shining stuff that makes stars and worlds and living things, there seems to be several grams of something else, something that gives off no light at all and can be felt only by its gravity. The Great Attractor's pull suggests a mass far greater than all its visible galaxies could account for, and so we suspect that vast unseen reservoirs of dark matter lie there too, gathering the light and the galaxies gently toward them. The 10th fact is that the whole idea of the Great Attractor rests on a simple and beautiful realization, that motion in the cosmos tells us where the mass lies. We cannot always see the matter that shapes the universe, but we can watch how galaxies move, and from their movement we can infer the hidden hands that guide them. When a great many galaxies all drift the same way, faster than the general expansion of space would explain, we know that some concentration of mass must lie ahead of them, quietly pulling. In this way, the Great Attractor was felt through its influence long before it was ever glimpsed, a shadow known only by the shape it casts. The 11th fact is that our motion toward the Great Attractor is astonishingly swift by any human measure, yet utterly imperceptible to us as we live our small and gentle lives. Our galaxy and its neighbors are being carried along at hundreds of kilometers every second, and still we feel nothing, notice nothing, for there is no wind in the emptiness of space, no landmark passing to mark our speed. We are like passengers asleep on a great and silent ship, gliding across a dark and boundless sea. The cosmos moves us profoundly, and yet so smoothly, so evenly, that our whole journey passes in perfect, dreamless quiet. The 12th fact is that the Great Attractor is not unique in the cosmos, but one of many such gathering places scattered through the deep. Everywhere astronomers look, they find these great knots of mass, drawing the galaxies around them into slow, majestic flows. Ours simply happens to be the nearest and most influential over our own small corner of the universe, the deep place toward which our particular river of galaxies bends. In this way, the whole cosmos is revealed to be a landscape of hills and valleys, not of rock and soil but of gravity itself, with galaxies forever sliding down its unseen slopes toward the low and heavy places. The 13th fact is that to speak of the Great Attractor pulling us is only half the story, for we in turn pull upon it, gently as every mass pulls upon every other. Gravity is never one-sided. It is always a shared embrace. Our galaxy, and all the galaxies flowing with it, tug back upon the great concentration ahead, though our small pull is lost within its vastness. It is a comforting thought, in its way, that even as we are drawn onward, we are not merely passive, but part of a great mutual leaning, a cosmos in which every island of stars reaches quietly toward every other across the dark. The 14th fact is that the Great Attractor helped teach us a humbling truth, that our galaxy is not the still center of anything, but a traveler among travelers. For much of human history, we imagined ourselves at the heart of creation, with the heavens turning gently around us. The slow discovery of our own motion, first around the sun, then around the galaxy, and at last across the cosmos toward the Great Attractor, has gently dissolved that old illusion. We are moving, always, carried on currents we did not choose and cannot feel, small passengers on a small world, adrift in a universe far larger and stranger than we ever dreamed. The 15th fact is that the pull of the Great Attractor is measured not in the way it moves single stars, but in the way it sways the drift of entire galaxies, each one holding 100 billion suns. To shift the course of so vast an object, even by a little, requires a concentration of mass almost beyond imagining. And to shift thousands of them all together in the same direction requires more still. When astronomers first grasped the scale of what would be needed to explain the flow they saw, they knew they were dealing with one of the largest structures ever to leave its fingerprints upon the motion of the visible universe. The 16th fact is that although the Great Attractor sounds fearsome, there is nothing about it that threatens us or our world in any way at all. Its pull is unimaginably gentle, spread across hundreds of millions of light years, and it changes our motion so slowly that the whole of human history has passed without our ever sensing it. It will not swallow our galaxy, nor disturb our sun, nor trouble the quiet turning of the earth. It is simply a feature of the vast cosmic landscape, a distant slope down which we drift with countless companions, harmless and serene, over spans of time so long that our lives are but the faintest flicker within them. The 17th fact is that the study of the Great Attractor belongs to a science with a lovely name, cosmography, the mapping of the cosmos itself. Just as the old cartographers once charted coastlines and mountains they could barely reach, cosmographers today chart the great structures of the universe, the flows and the walls and the voids, using the motions of galaxies as their guide. The Great Attractor is one of the grand landmarks on their maps, a deep basin drawn not in ink but in the silent movement of 1,000 galaxies. To study it is to draw the geography of everything patiently, one measured motion at a time. The 18th fact is that we came to know the Great Attractor only recently, within the lifetimes of people still living, for it took modern telescopes and patient measurement to feel its distant pull. For nearly all of human history, we had no idea that our galaxy was drifting toward anything at all. It was only in the closing decades of the 20th century that astronomers gathered enough careful observations to notice the flow and to trace it back toward its hidden source. In the long story of the sky, our knowledge of the Great Attractor is very new indeed, a discovery so fresh that the wonder of it has not yet had time to fade. The 19th fact is that the Great Attractor reminds us that the universe is not empty and inert, but woven through with structure on the very grandest of scales. Galaxies gather into groups, and groups into clusters, and clusters into superclusters, and even these arrange themselves along vast filaments that stretch across the cosmos like the threads of some enormous web. The Great Attractor lies at a meeting of these threads, a knot in the great weaving. To contemplate it is to glimpse the architecture of everything, the hidden pattern into which all the galaxies, including our own, have quietly been arranged. The 20th fact is that, in the end, the Great Attractor is a mystery we are only beginning to understand, and that unfinished quality is part of its quiet beauty. We know that something vast lies out there in the dark, drawing us gently onward. We know roughly where it lies and roughly how strongly it pulls. But its full nature, and how much of its mass is hidden, and what deeper concentrations may lie beyond it, are questions still being softly answered. And so it remains, for now, a wondering rather than a knowing, a great unseen presence in the night toward which we drift, patiently, while the cosmos keeps its ancient secrets a little longer. The 21st fact is that the story of the Great Attractor's discovery begins with a puzzle in the numbers, a strange and stubborn motion that would not fit the simple picture of an expanding universe. In the 1970s and 80s, astronomers were carefully measuring how galaxies move, expecting to find them all drifting apart in an orderly way as space itself stretched. But hidden within their measurements was something extra, a shared sideways drift that the expansion alone could not explain. Galaxies were leaning, together, in one particular direction, as though pulled by some great unseen weight. It was this small, persistent discrepancy that first hinted at the presence of the thing we now call the Great Attractor. The 22nd fact is that to understand the discovery, we must first understand a beautiful idea called peculiar velocity, the motion of a galaxy over and above the general expansion of space. When space stretches, it carries galaxies apart, and that carrying is not truly motion through space but motion with it. Yet galaxies also drift on their own, tugged this way and that by the gravity of their neighbors, and that extra, private drift is what astronomers call peculiar velocity. It is peculiar not because it is strange, but in the older sense of belonging to the galaxy itself. And it was in these peculiar velocities that the fingerprint of the Great Attractor was first quietly found. The 23rd fact is that measuring a galaxy's true motion is a subtle and patient art. For we cannot simply watch a galaxy cross the sky in a human lifetime. They are far too distant, and the ages too long. Instead, astronomers must compare two things: how far away a galaxy is, and how fast it appears to be receding, and see whether these agree with the smooth expansion of the cosmos. Where they do not agree, where a galaxy moves a little faster or slower than its distance would suggest, there lies a peculiar velocity, a whisper of some local pull. Reading these whispers across many galaxies is how the great flow was first uncovered. The 24th fact is that a galaxy's speed of recession is read from its light, from the gentle reddening that stretching space imprints upon it. As the cosmos expands, the light of distant galaxies is drawn out to longer, redder wavelengths, and the further and faster a galaxy recedes, the deeper this reddening grows. Astronomers call it redshift, and it is one of the most powerful tools we have for measuring the motions of the heavens. By reading the redshift of a galaxy with great care, and comparing it with an independent measure of its distance, the hidden peculiar velocities can at last be teased gently out of the light. The 25th fact is that measuring the distance to a galaxy, quite independently of its redshift, is the harder half of the task, and it demanded clever new methods. Astronomers found ways to gauge distances from the sizes and brightnesses of galaxies, from how fast the stars within them orbit, and from other subtle regularities in their nature. None of these methods was perfect, and each carried its own uncertainty. But by gathering many galaxies together and averaging their measurements, the errors softened and a clear pattern emerged. It was slow, careful, collective work, the patient accumulation of countless small observations into one grand and startling picture of motion. The 26th fact is that a small group of astronomers, remembered in the story of this discovery, came to be known affectionately as the Seven Samurai. These were 7 researchers who, in the 1980s, gathered detailed measurements of hundreds of galaxies and mapped their peculiar velocities across a wide swath of the sky. Their careful survey revealed that a great many galaxies, our own included, were streaming together toward a common region, far beyond anything they could clearly see. It was they who gave the hidden pull its evocative name, the Great Attractor, and set astronomers on the long quest to understand what could possibly be drawing so much toward it. The 27th fact is that what the 7 samurai found was not a few stray galaxies wandering, but a coherent bulk flow, a whole broad region of the cosmos drifting as one. This was the truly startling part. It is one thing for a single galaxy to feel a local tug, and quite another for thousands of them, spread across an enormous volume of space, all to lean the same way at once. Such a coordinated motion could only mean that some vast concentration of mass lay in that direction, great enough to sway an entire province of the universe. The scale of the flow implied a scale of mass almost beyond what anyone had expected to find. The 28th fact is that the discovery of the Great Attractor was, in a sense, an accident of honesty, born from astronomers taking their strange numbers seriously rather than explaining them away. It would have been easy to dismiss the extra motion as measurement error, as noise in imperfect data. But the pattern was too consistent, too coherent to ignore. Again and again, the galaxies pointed the same way. And so, rather than smoothing the anomaly out of existence, the astronomers followed it, and in following it, they uncovered one of the largest structures known. There is a quiet lesson in that, about the value of paying gentle attention to the things that do not quite fit. The 29th fact is that the flow the astronomers found was measured against a perfect stillness, a kind of cosmic reference frame given to us by the oldest light in the universe. Filling all of space is a faint afterglow of the Big Bang itself, a whisper of microwaves coming from every direction. Against this ancient glow, our own true motion can be read, for our movement makes the glow appear very slightly warmer ahead of us and cooler behind. From this we learn that our galaxy is indeed sailing through the cosmos at a definite speed, in a definite direction, and that direction points, in large part, toward the Great Attractor. The 30th fact is that when astronomers first announced the Great Attractor, it was met with a mixture of wonder and healthy doubt, as all great discoveries are. Some questioned the distance measurements, others the size of the mass implied, and the debate carried on for years. This is how science moves forward, not by sudden certainty, but by careful argument and the slow gathering of better evidence. Over time, as new surveys of galaxies confirmed the flow again and again, the reality of the Great Attractor became widely accepted, even as questions about its exact nature and its deeper causes remained gently open, as some of them remain to this day. The 31st fact is that one of the great difficulties in studying the Great Attractor was, and still is, that it lies in an awkward and hidden part of our sky. Much of the region toward which we are drifting is blocked from our view by our own galaxy, by the bright and dusty band of the Milky Way stretched across the heavens. And so the very structure that pulls us so strongly is, in part, curtained off, and astronomers have had to peer around and through that curtain with special instruments to catch even a glimpse of what lies beyond. This hiddenness gave the whole discovery an air of mystery that it has never entirely lost. The 32nd fact is that the amount of matter needed to explain the Great Attractor's pull was staggering, tens of thousands of times the mass of an ordinary galaxy gathered into one region, When the astronomers worked out how much mass would be required to produce the flow they measured, the number was immense, far more than any single cluster of galaxies could hold. It suggested a concentration of matter on a scale rarely contemplated before, a supercluster of superclusters, a great gathering of galaxies and dark matter drawing everything nearby toward it. The sheer size of the implied mass was itself one of the strongest clues that something truly extraordinary lay out there in the dark. The 33rd fact is that the discovery of the Great Attractor was part of a wider awakening, a growing understanding that the universe on the largest scales is not smooth but richly textured. In the same decades, astronomers were mapping great walls of galaxies and vast empty voids, discovering that matter is arranged into an intricate cosmic web. The Great Attractor fit naturally into this new picture, as one of the deep nodes where the threads of the web converge. It was not an isolated oddity, but a landmark in a whole new geography of the cosmos, one that was only then coming slowly into view. The 34th fact is that the tools of the discovery were modest by today's standards, and that makes the achievement all the more remarkable. The astronomers worked with photographic plates and early electronic detectors, measuring galaxies one at a time, night after patient night. There were no vast automated surveys sweeping up millions of galaxies at once, as there are now. Every data point was hard-won, gathered by hand and eye and careful thought. That such a small band of researchers, with such limited means, could uncover a structure spanning hundreds of millions of light-years is a testament to what patient human attention can achieve, even against the vastness of the sky. The 35th fact is that the direction of the flow, once measured, pointed with surprising consistency toward a single region of the southern sky, and that consistency was itself the strongest proof. Had the galaxies been drifting randomly, their motions would have scattered in every direction, canceling out. Instead, they pointed together, like a field of grass all bending in one wind. Such coherence across so vast a volume cannot arise by chance. It demands a common cause. And the common cause could only be gravity, the steady pull of a great mass lying in exactly the direction toward which all those galaxies leaned. The arrow of the flow pointed straight at the mystery. The 36th fact is that the discovery of the Great Attractor changed how astronomers thought about our own place and motion, and even about the value of the cosmic reference frame. Once we knew that our galaxy was being swept along toward a great mass, we had to be more careful in every measurement of cosmic expansion, for our own local drift had to be gently subtracted out. The Great Attractor thus became not only an object of study, but a correction to be reckoned with, a reminder that the observer, too, is in motion. To measure the universe truly, we first had to understand how we ourselves were being carried through it. The 37th fact is that even after the flow toward the Great Attractor was measured, a deeper question lingered, whether the Great Attractor alone could account for all of it. Some astronomers found that our motion seemed to continue beyond what the Great Attractor could explain, as though an even larger pull lay further out. This hint of something more, something deeper in the dark, would in time lead to the discovery of still greater concentrations of mass beyond the Great Attractor itself. The discovery, in other words, opened doors rather than closing them, revealing not a single answer but a whole nested hierarchy of pulls, one behind another, reaching out into the deep. The 38th fact is that the language astronomers use for these motions is gentle and watery, full of flows and streams and currents, and that language captures something true, for the galaxies really do move like a fluid, on the very grandest of scales, sliding along the slopes of gravity as water slides down a valley. The great bulk flow toward the Great Attractor is a cosmic river, silent and slow, carrying its cargo of galaxies across unimaginable distances. To picture it so is not merely poetic. It is close to how the physics itself behaves, the smooth and stately drift of matter down the hidden gradients of the universe. The 39th fact is that the confirmation of the Great Attractor came not from one triumphant observation, but from the slow agreement of many independent lines of evidence. Different teams, using different galaxies and different methods, kept arriving at the same picture, a great flow toward the same region of the sky. When several roads lead to the same place, we grow confident that the place is real. And so, over the years following the first announcement, the Great Attractor passed from a bold and contested claim into an accepted feature of our cosmic map, its reality woven from countless threads of patient measurement, all pointing quietly the same way. The 40th fact is that the discovery of the Great Attractor stands as one of the great examples of feeling something before you can see it, of knowing a presence by its touch alone. For years, we knew that our galaxy was being drawn toward something, long before we could make out what that something was. We felt the pull in the motions of the galaxies, as one might feel a slope in the dark by the way a ball rolls. And there is a quiet wonder in that the universe can reveal its hidden architecture through motion alone, that even the invisible leaves a trace, and that patient minds can read it, gently, in the drifting of the distant stars. The 41st fact is that the Great Attractor lies in a particular direction of our sky, toward the southern constellations of Centaurus and Norma, low in the heavens for those who live in the north. Centaurus is a grand old constellation, imagined by the ancients as a centaur, half man and half horse, striding across the southern stars. Norma is fainter and smaller, named for a carpenter's square, a set square used for drawing right angles. It is in this quiet corner of the sky, far from the bright and famous star patterns, that the great hidden pull resides, drawing our galaxy softly toward a region most of us have never even thought to look. The 42nd fact is that the distance to the Great Attractor is usually given as somewhere between 150 and 250 million light-years, a span so vast that the mind can only bow before it. The uncertainty in that range is itself a mark of how difficult the thing is to study, hidden as it is behind the veil of our own galaxy. But even at the nearer edge of that estimate, the Great Attractor lies far beyond our local group of galaxies, far beyond the great clusters nearest to us, out in a realm of the cosmos we are only beginning to chart. It is near, as cosmic distances go, and yet unimaginably far by any human measure. The 43rd fact is that to say the Great Attractor lies toward Centaurus is not to say it lies among the stars of Centaurus, for those stars are close at hand, within our own galaxy. The constellation is merely a signpost, a direction on the sky, a doorway through which we look outward toward something vastly more distant. The stars that form the Centaur's shape are mere hundreds of light-years away, while the Great Attractor lies hundreds of millions of light-years beyond them. We see the near and the far superimposed, the familiar star pattern in the foreground and the great hidden mass immeasurably deep behind it, all along the same quiet line of sight. The 44th fact is that the general region of sky toward which we are drawn has, over the years, gathered several names, for astronomers have mapped it in pieces as their instruments improved. There is the Great Attractor itself and the cluster of galaxies called Norma at its heart, and the broader Centaurus region rich with galaxies. All of these lie in roughly the same direction, layered at different depths along our line of sight. Together they form the near foreground of the Great Flow, the closest and best studied part of the structure that pulls us, even as its deeper reaches remain shrouded and dim beyond the dust of our own galaxy's crowded plain. The 45th fact is that the Great Attractor's location, low in the southern sky, meant that it was best studied from observatories in the southern half of the world, the great telescopes of Chile, of Australia, of South Africa, turned toward that quiet region and gathered the light of its faint and crowded galaxies. There is a fittingness in this, that a structure hidden from half the world should be revealed by the patient eyes of the other half. The Great Attractor belongs, in a sense, to the southern sky, to the observers who look up into a different set of stars than those of us in the north, and who first traced the outlines of the pole. The 46th fact is that when we speak of the Great Attractor lying 200 million light-years away, we are also speaking of 200 million years into the past. For light takes time to cross such distances, and so we never see the Great Attractor as it is now, but only as it was when its light began the long journey toward us. That light set out in an age when the dinosaurs still walked the young Earth, when the continents wore different shapes and the world knew nothing of us. To gaze toward the Great Attractor is to gaze into deep time, to see a slice of the cosmos as it was long, long before we came to be. The 47th fact is that the direction of the Great Attractor is not exactly the same as the direction of our galaxy's total motion. For many pulls combine to set our course. We are drawn toward the Great Attractor, yes, but also toward other concentrations of mass, and pushed gently away from the great empty voids. Our true motion through the cosmos is the sum of all these influences, a single direction woven from many threads. The Great Attractor is the largest single contributor over its own region, the dominant nearby pull, but it shares the sky with other gentle hands, all of them together steering our galaxy on its long and silent way. The 48th fact is that the Centaurus and Norma region is one of the richest in galaxies anywhere near us, crowded with island universes gathered close together. Where the Great Attractor lies, galaxies are not scattered thinly but heaped in abundance, drawn together by the same gravity that draws us. It is a busy quarter of the cosmos, a place where the great clusters press close and the cosmic web grows dense and tangled. This very richness is part of what marks the region as special, for such crowding of galaxies is the visible sign of the deep concentration of mass, the shining tip of a far greater hidden weight. The 49th fact is that the position of the Great Attractor can be given in the precise coordinates of astronomers, a definite spot upon the celestial sphere, though its edges are soft and its heart is veiled. In the language of right ascension and declination, it sits in the deep southern sky, in that band where Centaurus meets Norma. But unlike a star, which is a single point, the Great Attractor is a broad and diffuse thing, a region rather than a place, and its coordinates mark only its rough center. It is less an address than a neighborhood, a great gathering spread across a wide patch of the heavens, gently anchored to that quiet southern corner. The 50th fact is that although the Great Attractor is far, it is close enough that its galaxies can be studied one by one, their light gathered and their motions measured. This sets it apart from the truly distant reaches of the cosmos, where galaxies blur into faint smudges. The Great Attractor lies within our observable neighborhood, a structure we can hope to map in real detail, galaxy by galaxy, cluster by cluster. That nearness is a gift, for it means the mystery is not forever beyond our reach, but sits at a distance where patient observation can, slowly, bring its hidden shape into the light of understanding. The 51st fact is that the region of the Great Attractor was, for a long time, one of the least explored parts of the nearby universe, precisely because it hides behind our galaxy's crowded plane. While astronomers had mapped much of the sky above and below the band of the Milky Way, this particular direction remained dim and difficult, a gap in our charts. And so the Great Attractor became a frontier, a blank space on the cosmic map into which each new survey pressed a little further. Even now, parts of it remain imperfectly known, a lingering wilderness in an age when so much of the sky has been carefully catalogued and understood. The 52nd fact is that the light from the galaxies near the Great Attractor is not only faint with distance, but dimmed and reddened by the dust of our own galaxy lying in the way. To study them, astronomers must correct for this veil, gently accounting for how much of the light has been absorbed and scattered before it reached us. It is delicate work, like trying to judge the color of a distant lamp seen through a smoky window. Yet the astronomers have grown skilled at it, and with care they can lift the veil, at least in part, and recover a truer view of the crowded galaxies drifting in that hidden southern region. The 53rd fact is that the Great Attractor sits within a larger structure sometimes called the Centaurus Wall or the Centaurus Supercluster region, a great sheet of galaxies. The cosmos, on its largest scales, is arranged into walls and filaments, vast flattened sheets and threads of galaxies surrounding immense empty voids. The Great Attractor lies embedded in one such wall, a broad expanse of galaxies stretching across the sky, of which the pull we feel is the deep center. To understand the Great Attractor is to understand this wall, and the way its many galaxies gather and lean together toward the heavy heart within. The 54th fact is that the exact distance to the Great Attractor has been refined over the years, and gently, as measurements improved, the estimates have settled toward the nearer part of the old range. Early studies placed it somewhat further out, but later work, with better distances and clearer views, has tended to bring it a little closer, to roughly 150 to 200 million light-years. This drifting of the number is not a failing of science but its very nature, the slow honing of an answer through better and better observation. And with each refinement, our map of the Great Pull grows a little sharper, a little more sure. The 55th fact is that from the Great Attractor's direction, if we could stand there and look back, our own Milky Way would appear as just one more faint galaxy among the multitude, drifting inward with the rest. There is nothing special about our place in the flow. We are simply one island of stars among thousands, all leaning the same way. This is a humbling and yet a peaceful thought, that we are part of a great and democratic drift, no more central and no less than any of our fellow travelers. From out there, we would be indistinguishable, a small spiral of light sliding gently toward the gathering, as anonymous as we are welcome. The 56th fact is that the constellation Norma, which lends its name to the great cluster at the Great Attractor's heart, is one of the faintest and most modern of the star patterns. It was mapped only a few centuries ago by astronomers charting the southern sky, and it holds no bright and famous stars of its own. There is a gentle irony in that so dim and humble a constellation should mark the direction of so vast a hidden power. But perhaps it is fitting, too, that the Great Pull should hide behind a quiet name, a carpenter's square drawn faintly among the southern stars, guarding its secret in plain and unassuming sight. The 57th fact is that the Great Attractor's location tells a deeper story about how matter is distributed in our particular corner of the cosmos. For we lie near the edge of a great flow, not at its center. Our galaxy is being drawn from the outskirts inward, sliding down the long slope toward the crowded heart of the structure. We are, in a sense, on the rim of a great basin, and the Great Attractor lies down toward its lowest point. This gives our journey a direction and a meaning within the larger geography, a sense of where we sit upon the vast, invisible landscape of gravity that shapes the movements of everything nearby. The 58th fact is that mapping the precise position of the Great Attractor required combining observations across many different kinds of light, not the visible alone. Astronomers used radio waves, which pass more freely through the obscuring dust, and other wavelengths besides, each revealing galaxies the visible light could not. By layering these different views together, they built up a fuller picture of what lies in that hidden direction. It is a reminder that the universe speaks to us in many voices, in many colors of light beyond the narrow band our eyes can see, and that to know it fully we must learn to listen in all of them. The 59th fact is that the Great Attractor, for all its fame, is really just the nearest deep dimple in a landscape of gravity that extends far beyond it, in every direction, throughout the cosmos. It happens to lie in the direction of Centaurus and Norma because that is simply where, in our particular sky, the nearest great gathering of mass resides. Had we been born in a different galaxy, our Great Attractor would lie in some other direction, towards some other gathering. It is ours by accident of place, the nearest heavy heart to which our own small region of the universe happens gently to belong. The 60th fact is that to know where the Great Attractor lies is already a kind of comfort. For a mystery with an address is a mystery half tamed. We can point toward it now, low in the southern sky, past the faint stars of Centaurus and Norma, and say, there, that is the direction in which our galaxy is being drawn. We cannot see it clearly, and we do not fully understand it, but we know where to look, and that knowing turns a formless dread into a quiet wonder. And so, when you next imagine the great pull, you may picture it there, in that soft and distant corner, patiently waiting as we drift gently toward it through the night. The 61st fact is that the Great Attractor hides behind one of the most beautiful sights in all our sky, the soft, glowing band of the Milky Way itself, arching across the darkness on a clear night. That gentle river of light is the combined glow of countless stars in the flat disk of our own galaxy, seen edgewise from within. Lovely as it is to our eyes, to astronomers it is also a curtain, for it blocks our view of everything that lies beyond it. And the Great Attractor lies almost directly behind the thickest, brightest, dustiest part of that band, curtained from us by the very galaxy we call home. The 62nd fact is that astronomers have a name for the hidden region blocked by our galaxy's crowded plane, and it is a lovely and evocative one, the Zone of Avoidance. It is called so because, in the old catalogs of galaxies, that band of sky seems strangely empty, as though galaxies avoided it. But of course the galaxies are there. They are merely hidden, their light swallowed by the stars and dust of the Milky Way lying in front of them. The Zone of Avoidance is not a true emptiness but a blindness, a broad stripe across our sky where our own galaxy stands between us and the deeper cosmos beyond. The 63rd fact is that the Zone of Avoidance covers a surprisingly large fraction of our sky, roughly a fifth of it hidden behind the band of the Milky Way. That is an enormous blind spot, a great swath of the heavens into which, for most of our history, we simply could not see. And it is a cruel accident of geometry that the Great Attractor should lie within this very zone, behind the thickest part of the veil. Of all the directions in which so great a structure might have hidden, it chose the one most difficult for us to penetrate, tucked away behind the crowded heart of our own galaxy's glowing disk. The 64th fact is that what makes the Milky Way's band so effective a curtain is not only its stars but its dust, vast clouds of fine dark grains drifting between the stars. This interstellar dust absorbs and scatters the light of anything behind it, dimming distant galaxies until they vanish from view. In visible light, the effect is severe, and the deeper into the band one looks, the more thoroughly the far galaxies are hidden. It is much like trying to see a distant city through a thick and drifting fog. The stars we can see belong to our own foreground. The galaxies beyond are simply lost within the haze. The 65th fact is that although dust hides the distant galaxies in visible light, it is far less of an obstacle to other kinds of light, and this gave astronomers a way to see through the veil. Radio waves and infrared light and X-rays pass much more freely through the dust than the visible light our eyes are made for. And so, by turning instruments sensitive to these other colors toward the Zone of Avoidance, astronomers could begin to make out the galaxies hidden there. The curtain that seemed so opaque to our eyes proved to be thin and gauzy in these other lights, and slowly the hidden landscape behind it came into gentle view. The 66th fact is that one especially powerful way to peer through the zone of avoidance uses the radio glow of hydrogen gas, which nearly every galaxy carries within it. Cold hydrogen, the most common substance in the cosmos, quietly emits radio waves at a particular wavelength, and those waves slip easily through the dust of our galaxy. By tuning great radio telescopes to that gentle hydrogen song, astronomers can detect galaxies deep within the zone of avoidance that no optical telescope could ever hope to see. In this way, the hidden galaxies near the Great Attractor were coaxed, one by one, out of their long concealment behind the veil. The 67th fact is that the hiddenness of the Great Attractor is a large part of why it remained mysterious for so long, and why some of its secrets are still not fully known. Had it lain in a clear and open part of the sky, we might have mapped it thoroughly decades ago. But because it hides behind the densest part of the Milky Way, every observation has been hard-won, every galaxy pried carefully from behind the curtain. The mystery of the Great Attractor is thus not only a mystery of what it is, but a mystery imposed by where it lies, a secret kept as much by geometry as by distance. The 68th fact is that the zone of avoidance is not equally thick everywhere, and there are thinner places where astronomers can peer a little more easily into the deep beyond. Toward the very center of our galaxy, the band is thickest and the dust most impenetrable, but away from the center it grows thinner, and glimpses open. Astronomers have learned to hunt for these gaps and windows, these thin patches in the veil, and to press their observations through them. It is patient, opportunistic work, a matter of finding the clearest lines of sight and gathering what light one can, building the map of the hidden region gap by gap and glimpse by glimpse. The 69th fact is that the discovery of galaxies within the zone of avoidance was, in its way, like finding a whole hidden country behind a familiar wall. For generations, astronomers had drawn their maps of the nearby universe with a great blank stripe running through them, a gap they simply could not fill. As new instruments pierced the veil, that blank stripe slowly filled with galaxies, revealing that the cosmic web ran on unbroken behind the Milky Way, just as one might expect. The hidden country was there all along, waiting, and its unveiling was one of the quiet triumphs of modern astronomy, a filling in of the last great gap in our nearby map. The 70th fact is that the very existence of the zone of avoidance is a consequence of our particular vantage point, of living inside a flat disk of stars and looking out through its crowded plane. We dwell within the Milky Way, roughly midway out along one of its spiral arms, and the great disk of the galaxy stretches away from us in the plane of the sky. When we look along that plane, we look through the thickest part of our galaxy, and everything beyond is hidden. When we look above or below it, our view opens clear to the depths. The zone of avoidance is simply the price we pay for our seat inside the galaxy we call home. The 71st fact is that the astronomers who mapped the zone of avoidance had to combine surveys in many wavelengths, each revealing a different piece of the hidden puzzle. The radio surveys found the gas-rich galaxies, the infrared surveys found those glowing warm with dust, and the X-ray surveys revealed the hot gas of galaxy clusters shining through. No single instrument could lift the whole veil, but together, layered one upon another, they built a composite view of what lies behind the band of the Milky Way. It was a great collaborative undertaking, spanning many observatories and many years, all to see into the one part of the sky most stubbornly hidden from us. The 72nd fact is that behind the zone of avoidance, astronomers found not emptiness but abundance, great clusters of galaxies pressing close in the direction of the Great Attractor. As the veil lifted, the region revealed itself to be one of the richest in the nearby universe, crowded with galaxies gathered densely together. This was exactly what the flow had led them to expect, for such a rich gathering is the visible sign of the deep mass that pulls us. The hidden region, once unveiled, confirmed the story the moving galaxies had told. A great concentration of matter lying just where the pull pointed, behind the curtain of our own galaxy's light. The 73rd fact is that even with all our modern instruments, a portion of the region behind the Milky Way remains imperfectly known. A last shred of the veil not yet fully lifted, toward the very densest part of the galactic plane, where the dust piles thickest, some galaxies still hide beyond our clearest view. And so the map of the Great Attractor, while far more complete than it once was, still carries a soft blur at its heart, a reminder that even in our age of great telescopes, the cosmos keeps a few of its nearby secrets. There is something fitting in that lingering mystery, a gentle humility built into the very landscape of the sky. The 74th fact is that the Zone of Avoidance teaches a quiet lesson about how much of the universe may be hidden from us not by distance, but simply by things standing in the way. The Great Attractor is not far, as the cosmos goes, and yet for decades it eluded clear study merely because our own galaxy blocked the view. It makes one wonder how much else lies close at hand but unseen, obscured by dust or by glare or by the accidents of our vantage point. The universe is not only vast, but veiled in places, and part of the work of astronomy is learning, patiently, to see around the curtains that hang between us and the deep. The 75th fact is that infrared telescopes, which see the gentle heat glow of the cosmos rather than its visible light, were among the most powerful tools for piercing the zone of avoidance. Warm dust and cool stars shine in the infrared, and that light slips through the obscuring grains of our galaxy far more easily than visible light. Great infrared surveys of the whole sky swept up galaxies hidden deep behind the Milky Way's band, revealing the shape of the crowded region beyond. In the patient glow of infrared light, the hidden galaxies of the Great Attractor stepped softly out of the shadows and took their places on our maps. The 76th fact is that the Zone of Avoidance is slowly shrinking, not because our galaxy is moving aside, but because our instruments grow ever better at seeing through it. With each generation of telescopes, the veil grows a little more transparent, and galaxies once hopelessly hidden are drawn into view. The great blind stripe across our sky is being filled in, gap by gap, glimpse by glimpse, as radio and infrared and X-ray eyes probe ever deeper. In time, perhaps, the whole hidden region behind the Milky Way will be mapped as clearly as the open sky, and the last secret places of the Great Attractor will yield gently to our patient looking. The 77th fact is that the story of the Zone of Avoidance is really a story of persistence, of astronomers refusing to leave a blank space on their maps. They could have simply accepted that a fifth of the sky was hidden and turned their attention elsewhere. Instead, they invented new ways to see, new wavelengths and new techniques, all to fill in the one region that stubbornly resisted them. And in doing so, they uncovered the crowded heart of the Great Attractor, hidden there all along. It is a testament to a certain kind of gentle stubbornness, the quiet refusal to accept that anything must remain forever unseen. The 78th fact is that when we finally saw behind the veil, we found that the Great Attractor's central regions hold some of the most massive galaxy clusters in our part of the cosmos. These are not small gatherings but great cities of galaxies, held together by their own gravity and by vast reservoirs of dark matter and hot gas. That such immense structures could hide, almost unnoticed, behind the band of our own galaxy is a striking thought. The largest nearby concentration of mass, the very thing that pulls our galaxy across the cosmos, lay for so long just out of sight, waiting quietly behind the soft and glowing river of the Milky Way. The 79th fact is that the zone of avoidance reminds us that even the sky we think we know so well holds hidden depths, curtained regions we have only lately learned to see into. Every clear night, the band of the Milky Way arches overhead, beautiful and familiar, and few who gaze upon it realize that it conceals one of the great structures of the nearby universe. There is a gentle poetry in that the most visible feature of our night sky should also be its greatest veil, hiding the very thing that draws us onward, its beauty and its concealment woven together into one soft ribbon of light. The 80th fact is that, in the end, the zone of avoidance is a curtain we are slowly drawing aside, and behind it lies not darkness but a deeper wonder, the crowded heart of the great pull. What once seemed an empty band across the sky has become a doorway into one of the most fascinating regions of the cosmos. And so, when you next see the Milky Way arching softly overhead, you may remember that behind its gentle glow lies the Great Attractor, hidden and patient, drawing us quietly onward. The veil is thinning year by year, and the hidden country beyond it is slowly, gently, coming home to our maps and to our understanding. The 81st fact is that our galaxy does not travel alone toward the Great Attractor, but sails in the company of a small family of galaxies called the Local Group. The Local Group is our immediate cosmic neighborhood, a gathering of some dozens of galaxies bound loosely together by gravity, dominated by two great spirals, our own Milky Way and the nearby Andromeda galaxy. Around these two circle a host of smaller companions, dwarf galaxies drifting near their giant kin. It is this whole little fleet, our local group, that is being carried together across the cosmos, all its members drifting as one toward the distant, hidden pole. The 82nd fact is that the local group is moving through the cosmos at a truly remarkable speed, roughly 600 kilometers in a single second, in the direction of the Great Flow. 600 kilometers every second is a pace almost impossible to grasp, something like 2,200,000 kilometers in a single hour. At such a speed, one could cross the whole breadth of the Earth in a heartbeat and reach the moon in under half an hour. And yet this tremendous motion carries us so smoothly, so silently, through the emptiness of space that we feel nothing at all, sense nothing, know it only through the patient measurements of astronomers. The 83rd fact is that this speed of 600 kilometers a second is measured against the oldest and stillest thing we know, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang that fills all of space. Our motion through that ancient glow leaves a subtle mark, making it appear very slightly warmer in the direction we are heading and cooler behind us. From the size of this gentle warming and cooling, astronomers can read our true speed and direction through the cosmos. And what they find is that we are sailing at some 600 kilometers a second toward the region of Centaurus and Norma, toward the Great Attractor and the deeper pulls that lie beyond it. The 84th fact is that this great motion is made of many parts, layered one upon another, each carrying us in its own way through the vastness. The Earth turns upon its axis and circles the Sun. The Sun circles the heart of the Milky Way, sweeping around once every couple of 100 million years. The Milky Way drifts toward Andromeda within the local group, and the whole local group is carried toward the Great Attractor. We ride all these motions at once, nested each within the other, a small world upon a small star upon a great wheel of stars, all adrift together on the deepest cosmic current of all. The 85th fact is that perhaps the most wonderful thing about our headlong rush toward the Great Attractor is that we cannot feel it in the slightest, and never could. There is no wind of space rushing past, no sense of speed, no shudder or sway. For motion at a steady pace in a straight line feels exactly like perfect stillness. Only changes in motion can ever be felt. And our drift toward the Great Attractor is so smooth, so unchanging over any human span of time, that it registers as nothing at all. We sit quietly upon the earth, seemingly still, while in truth we are hurtling through the cosmos faster than any rocket we have ever built. The 86th fact is that to say we move at 600 kilometers a second is to describe our motion relative to the distant cosmos as a whole, not relative to anything nearby. There is no fixed post in space, no cosmic mile marker against which absolute motion can be measured, only the gentle reference of that ancient background glow. And against it, our whole local group is found to be sailing swiftly onward. It is a strange and beautiful idea that even stillness is relative, that the ground beneath our feet, which seems so solid and so fixed, is in truth flying through the dark at a speed the mind can barely hold. The 87th fact is that the Great Attractor is responsible for a large share of our motion, but not quite all of it, for other, deeper pulls add their gentle weight. When astronomers carefully account for the gravity of the Great Attractor, they find it explains much of our 600 kilometers a second, but that some of our speed seems to come from further out still, from even greater concentrations of mass beyond. Our motion is thus a sum of pulls, near and far, the Great Attractor foremost among them but not alone. We lean toward it and past it, toward things deeper in the dark that we are only beginning to understand. The 88th fact is that our speed toward the Great Attractor, tremendous as it is still gentle compared with the vast distances it must cross, and so our journey is measured in the ages, not the years. At 600 kilometers a second, it would take hundreds of millions of years to travel even a small fraction of the way to the Great Attractor, and the universe's expansion works against us all the while. We are not plunging, but drifting, on a journey so slow by cosmic measure that it will never, in any human sense, arrive. Our motion is real and swift, and yet against the great gulf ahead, it is the softest and most patient of leanings. The 89th fact is that Andromeda, our great companion galaxy, shares in this motion, and is itself drawing gently nearer to us within the local group even as the whole group flows onward. In a few billion years, the Milky Way and Andromeda will slowly meet and merge, their stars gliding past one another in a grand and gentle dance. And all the while, this merging pair will continue to be carried, together, toward the Great Attractor. There is a lovely nesting of motions here, a smaller drawing together within a larger drawing onward, two galaxies falling toward each other even as their whole neighborhood falls toward the distant pole. The 90th fact is that the discovery of our motion toward the Great Attractor was a profound shift in how we see ourselves, for it revealed that even our galaxy is not at rest. For a long time, astronomers spoke of the expansion of the universe as though we sat quietly at its center, watching the galaxies recede. But the Great Attractor showed that we, too, are moving, swept along on a great current through the cosmos. It gently dethroned us once again, as so many discoveries have, from any imagined stillness or centrality, and set us drifting with all the rest, humble travelers upon a tide we did not make and cannot feel. The 91st fact is that the exact speed of our motion has been measured and refined many times, and the figure of 600 kilometers a second has held remarkably steady across the decades. Different methods, using different observations, keep arriving at much the same number, which gives astronomers confidence that it is real. There is comfort in such agreement, in the way the cosmos answers the same question the same way no matter how we ask it. And so we may say, with reasonable assurance, that our whole local group sails at some 600 kilometers each second through the dark, a figure now woven firmly into our understanding of where and how we move. The 92nd fact is that the direction of our motion, when traced across the sky, points toward that same hidden region of Centaurus and Norma where the Great Attractor lies veiled behind the Milky Way. It is a satisfying confirmation that the direction we are found to be moving and the direction of the great mass we have inferred should be one and the same. The pull and the motion agree, as they must if our understanding is correct. We move toward the Great Attractor because the Great Attractor draws us, and the arrow of our speed points straight into the curtained heart of the flow, exactly where the gravity resides. The 93rd fact is that our sun, in all its motions, is a fine example of how nested and layered our journey through the cosmos truly is. It circles the center of the Milky Way at some 200 kilometers a second, a great slow orbit that takes hundreds of millions of years to complete. Yet even as it circles, the whole galaxy drifts, and the whole local group flows, carrying the sun along on ever larger currents. To trace the true path of our star through space is to draw a complex and beautiful spiral within a drift within a flow, a dance of many motions all unfolding at once, silent and unfelt. The 94th fact is that all this great motion unfolds without the slightest disturbance to our daily lives. For the cosmos carries us as gently as a cradle. The seasons turn, the days pass, the stars rise and set in their familiar patterns, all utterly unaffected by our headlong rush toward the Great Attractor. Nothing spills, nothing shakes, nothing so much as trembles. The whole earth, and everyone upon it, is borne through the dark at unimaginable speed with perfect and untroubled calm. There is deep peace in that thought, that we may be moving so profoundly and yet resting so completely, all at the very same time. The 95th fact is that if you wish to feel your true motion through the cosmos, you would search in vain. For there is no experiment you could perform in a closed room to reveal it. This is one of the deepest principles in all of physics, that steady motion is indistinguishable from rest. A traveler in a smoothly gliding ship, with the windows shuttered, cannot tell whether they move or stand still. And so it is with us, gliding at 600 kilometers a second toward the Great Attractor. Only by looking outward, to the distant glow of the early universe, can we ever learn that we are moving at all. Within all is stillness. The 96th fact is that our motion toward the Great Attractor is a kind of inheritance, set in place long ago by the slow gathering of matter in the young universe. In the earliest ages, the cosmos was very nearly smooth, but not perfectly so, and the slightly denser regions began, ever so gently, to draw matter toward themselves. Over billions of years, these gentle beginnings grew into the great structures we see today, and the flows of galaxies toward them. Our drift toward the Great Attractor is the distant echo of those first faint ripples, a motion begun in the infancy of the universe and continuing, patiently, to this very night. The 97th fact is that the study of our own motion has become a doorway into mapping all the hidden mass of the nearby cosmos. For from the way we move we can infer where the matter lies. Every pull upon us, from the Great Attractor and beyond, leaves its mark upon our speed and direction. By reading that mark carefully, astronomers can work backward to the great concentrations of mass responsible, even those they cannot see. Our own drift through the dark thus becomes an instrument, a delicate gauge of the invisible landscape of gravity. And in learning how we move, we learn, quietly, the shape of everything around us. The 98th fact is that there is something deeply peaceful in surrendering to a motion one cannot feel and cannot change, in simply being carried by the cosmos. We did not choose this drift toward the Great Attractor, and we cannot alter it in the slightest. It is simply our condition, to be borne gently onward through the dark, along with our galaxy and all its companions. And rather than trouble us, this may soothe us, for it asks nothing of us at all. We need not steer, need not strive, need not even stay awake. The great current carries us whether we wake or sleep, faithful and unhurried, through the endless night. The 99th fact is that our 600 kilometers a second, laid against the age of the universe, has carried the local group across a truly vast stretch of space since the cosmos began, over billions of years, moving ever in much the same direction. We have drifted an enormous distance from wherever we began, swept along on the great flow. And yet, against the boundless scale of the cosmos, even that long journey is but a small step, a gentle few paces across an unimaginable plain. We have traveled far, and have far, far further yet to drift, and all of it in silence, all of it unfelt, all of it under the patient guidance of gravity alone. The 100th fact is that when you lie still tonight, seemingly at perfect rest, you may hold in your mind the quiet truth that you are in fact a traveler, sailing at 600 kilometers a second through the deep, beneath the calm of your room, beneath the stillness of the sleeping world. You and the whole earth are being carried, softly and swiftly, toward the Great Attractor and the mysteries beyond it. There is nothing to fear in this, and nothing to do, only a great and gentle motion to rest within. So let yourself be carried, as you always have been, unfeeling and unafraid, on the deepest current the universe has to offer. The 101st fact is that in the year 2014, astronomers gave our galaxy a new and larger home, revealing that we belong to an immense supercluster they named Laniakea. A team led by the astronomer Brent Tully, working with colleagues, mapped the motions of thousands of galaxies and traced the great flows among them. From these flows they drew, for the first time, the true boundaries of the supercluster to which we belong. And they gave it a beautiful name, Laniakea, drawn from the Hawaiian words for immeasurable heaven, a fitting name for the vast gathering of galaxies we now call home. The 102nd fact is that Laniakea is defined not by any wall you could see, but by the pattern of motion, by which galaxies flow toward its common center and which flow away toward some other. The astronomers pictured the cosmos as a landscape of gravity, with galaxies sliding like raindrops down its slopes. All the galaxies whose flow leads toward the same great basin belong, they said, to the same supercluster. And so Laniakea is drawn as a watershed, a region within which every galaxy drifts toward one shared low point. It is a home defined by belonging, by the direction in which we all together are gently pulled. The 103rd fact is that the heart of that great basin, the low point toward which all of Laniakea flows, lies very near the Great Attractor itself. The Great Attractor, which for decades had been a mystery known only by its pull, turned out to sit close to the gravitational floor of our whole supercluster. It is, in a sense, the drain toward which the vast bathtub of Laniakea slowly empties, the deep center around which our home is defined. The old mystery and the new map came together beautifully here, the Great Attractor revealed as the very hub of the immense structure to which we belong. The 104th fact is that Laniakea is staggeringly large, spanning some 500 million light-years from one side to the other. Within that vast expanse are gathered around 100,000 large galaxies, each a great island of stars, all bound together by the shared flow of their motion. Our own Milky Way lies not at the center of this immensity but far out toward one edge, a modest member near the rim of a structure almost beyond comprehension. To grasp the size of Laniakea is to feel the mind stretch and strain, for it is a home so large that light itself takes 500 million years to cross it. The 105th fact is that the discovery of Laniakea gave us, for the first time, a clear answer to a very old and simple question: where do we live? We know our address on the Earth and the Earth's place around the Sun, and the Sun's place within the Milky Way. Beyond that, our sense of home had always grown vague and uncertain. But with Laniakea mapped, we could at last say that our galaxy dwells in a particular supercluster, with definite bounds and a definite heart, near the great flow toward the Great Attractor. It was a new and larger address, the widest home ever charted for our small and wandering world. The 106th fact is that the name Laniakea, meaning immeasurable heaven, was chosen to honor the ancient Polynesian navigators who crossed the vast Pacific guided by the stars. There is a deep fittingness in that choice, for those navigators read the sky to find their way across an ocean too wide to see across, much as astronomers read the motions of galaxies to chart a cosmos too vast to survey directly. The name links the oldest human wayfinding to the newest, the star-guided canoes of the Pacific to the great maps of the supercluster. It carries, in a single word, both the scale of the structure and the wonder of our reaching toward it. The 107th fact is that to map Laniakea, astronomers needed the peculiar velocities of thousands upon thousands of galaxies, the very same private motions that first revealed the Great Attractor. They gathered these motions into a great catalog, and from them reconstructed the flows across our whole corner of the cosmos. Where the flows converged, they drew the basins of the superclusters. Where they parted, they drew the boundaries between. It was an enormous undertaking, the patient assembly of countless measured motions into one grand and flowing map. And out of that map emerged Laniakea, our home, its shape written entirely in the drift of galaxies. The 108th fact is that the map of Laniakea revealed our supercluster to be a thing of streams and tendrils. Not a simple ball, its galaxies gathered along flowing filaments that all bend toward the center, like the veins of a leaf or the branching channels of a great river delta. The structure of Laniakea is intricate and organic, threads of galaxies winding inward toward the Great Attractor at its heart. Our own galaxy lies along one of these tendrils, drifting slowly inward with our neighbors. The picture is not one of rigid architecture, but of gentle, living flow, a great watershed of galaxies all leaning quietly toward home. The 109th fact is that Laniakea borders other superclusters, its edges meeting theirs along the crests where the flows divide, and beyond those borders lie other immeasurable heavens. Just as a mountain ridge separates one valley's rivers from the next, so a subtle divide separates the galaxies that flow into Laniakea from those that flow into neighboring superclusters. On the far side of one such divide lies the great Perseus-Pisces supercluster, and others beyond. Laniakea is thus one province among many in the vast geography of the cosmos, a single basin in a landscape of basins, each with its own deep heart drawing its own galaxies gently in. The 110th fact is that before Laniakea was mapped, astronomers had spoken of a smaller structure, the Virgo supercluster, and had placed us within it, but Laniakea revealed that Virgo was merely one lobe of something far greater. What had once seemed our whole supercluster turned out to be just an appendage, a single arm of the immense Laniakea. This is how our understanding grows, each larger map revealing that what we once thought was the whole is only a part. Our home has been enlarged again and again, from galaxy to local group to Virgo supercluster and now to Laniakea, each step a humbling and a widening of the world. The 111th fact is that the idea of defining a supercluster by its flows, rather than by any visible boundary, was itself a beautiful advance in how we think about cosmic structure. For the galaxies are not neatly walled off from one another. They blend and grade into their surroundings, and it is hard to say where one gathering ends and the next begins. But the flows give a natural answer, drawing borders along the divides where motion parts one way from another. This watershed idea brought a new clarity to the map of the cosmos, letting us speak of homes and boundaries in a universe that has no walls, only the gentle slopes of gravity. The 112th fact is that our position near the edge of Laniakea, rather than its center, means we are among the galaxies flowing inward, drawn slowly toward the distant heart. We are not settled at the bottom of the basin but perched upon its outer slope, drifting gently down toward the Great Attractor far away. There is something poignant in that placement, to live near the rim of our own vast home, forever leaning toward a center we will never reach. And yet it is a peaceful poignancy, for the drift is slow and sure and unhurried, a lifelong falling that feels, from within, exactly like rest. The 113th fact is that the mapping of Laniakea was made possible by decades of patient work gathering galaxy distances and motions, a great collective inheritance drawn upon all at once. No single observation revealed the supercluster. Rather, it emerged from the accumulated labor of many astronomers over many years, all their measured galaxies pooled into one grand analysis. The discovery of Laniakea was thus a kind of harvest, the reaping of a field long and carefully sown. It reminds us that the greatest maps of the cosmos are built not in a moment but across generations, each observer adding a few more galaxies to the slowly growing whole. The 114th fact is that Laniakea, for all its vastness, is not bound tightly together and will not endure forever, for the expansion of the universe is slowly pulling it apart. Unlike a single galaxy, or even a cluster which gravity holds firmly, a supercluster is too loosely gathered to resist the great outward stretching of space. Over the long ages to come, the galaxies of Laniakea will drift apart, the flows will weaken, and the structure will gently dissolve. It is a home, but a temporary one, a gathering caught in a passing moment of cosmic time, already beginning, ever so slowly, to come undone. The 115th fact is that the discovery of Laniakea gave a new depth of meaning to our motion toward the Great Attractor, for it showed that motion to be the very thing defining our home. We do not merely happen to be moving toward the Great Attractor. That shared movement is what binds us to our fellow galaxies, what makes us one supercluster rather than scattered strangers. The flow toward the Great Attractor is the thread that gathers us into Laniakea. In a sense, our home is not a place at all, but a shared direction, a common leaning, a great and quiet agreement among 100,000 galaxies to drift the same way through the dark. The 116th fact is that seen whole, in the great maps the astronomers drew, Laniakea has a shape both strange and beautiful, like a vast and flowing web, or the branching of some enormous root. Its galaxies stream inward along glowing tendrils, converging toward the deep basin near the Great Attractor, the whole structure caught as if in gentle motion. Our own Milky Way appears as a tiny point far out along one thread, easily overlooked. To see this map is to see our home from the outside, as no traveler ever could, and to feel both very small within it and strangely at peace, one drop in a great and flowing sea of light. The 117th fact is that Laniakea overturned the old notion that we could ever point to a single, simple structure and say, "This is where we live and nowhere further," for Laniakea itself flows, gently, toward things beyond it, toward even greater concentrations of mass deeper in the dark. Our home is nested within larger patterns still, and those within larger patterns beyond. The discovery gave us an address, yes, but also a horizon, a sense that home opens ever outward, that there is always a wider gathering, a deeper pull, a greater heaven beyond the immeasurable one we have only just learned to call our own. The 118th fact is that the mapping of Laniakea is a triumph of imagination as much as of measurement, for it asks us to picture a home too large ever to be seen. No eye, no telescope could take in the whole of Laniakea at a glance. It exists for us only as a map, a reconstruction, a thing built in the mind from thousands of measured motions. And yet it is as real as the ground beneath us, this immeasurable heaven to which we belong. To hold it in the imagination, to feel oneself a citizen of so vast a structure, is one of the quiet gifts that modern astronomy offers to anyone willing to lie still and wonder. The 119th fact is that the discovery of Laniakea placed the Great Attractor in its proper context at last. No longer a lonely mystery but the beating heart of our supercluster home. For decades, the Great Attractor had been a puzzle standing apart, a pull without a clear place in the larger scheme. Laniakea gave it that place, revealing it as the deep center around which our whole neighborhood of galaxies is arranged. The two ideas completed one another, the old flow and the new map, and together they gave us the fullest picture yet of where we live and why we drift gently in the direction that we do. The 120th fact is that to know we belong to Laniakea is to carry a quiet sense of belonging into the vast and silent night, a feeling that even in so great a cosmos, we have a home. It is an immeasurable heaven, larger than the mind can hold, and yet it is ours, the gathering to which our galaxy and all its neighbors belong. And at its heart lies the Great Attractor, drawing us softly onward, binding us to one another across the dark. So when the night feels wide and lonely, you may remember Laniakea, our immeasurable home, and let its vast and gentle embrace be, in some small way, a comfort as you drift towards sleep. The 121st fact is that near the very heart of the Great Attractor lies a great gathering of galaxies known as the Norma Cluster, catalogued by astronomers as able 3,627. It is one of the most massive clusters of galaxies in all our nearby cosmos, a great city of star islands bound tightly together by their shared gravity. For a long time it lay hidden behind the Zone of Avoidance, curtained by the dust of the Milky Way, and only as astronomers learned to see through that veil did the Norma Cluster reveal itself as a central pillar of the great pull that draws us onward. The 122nd fact is that the Norma Cluster holds not only its many galaxies but a vast reservoir of hot gas, glowing softly in X-rays, that fills the space between them. In the great clusters, the space between galaxies is not empty but suffused with thin, searingly hot gas, heated by the immense gravity of the cluster itself. This gas glows in high-energy light, and X-ray telescopes reveal it as a great luminous cloud enveloping the whole cluster. The presence of so much hot gas is itself a measure of the cluster's mass, for only a very great gravity could hold such hot material from escaping into the surrounding dark. The 123rd fact is that clusters of galaxies like Norma are among the largest objects in the cosmos that gravity holds firmly together, true bound structures that will not be pulled apart by the expansion of space. Unlike the loose superclusters, which will one day dissolve, a cluster is knit tightly enough that it endures. The Norma Cluster is such an anchor, a great and stable knot of matter near the center of the flow. It is toward such firmly bound gatherings that the looser structures drift, and the Norma Cluster is one of the deep and lasting weights around which our whole region of galaxies is arranged. The 124th fact is that the mass of the Norma Cluster, though immense, is not by itself quite enough to explain the whole pull of the Great Attractor, and this has long puzzled astronomers. The flow of galaxies suggested more mass than the visible clusters could easily account for. Part of the answer lies in dark matter, the unseen substance that adds its silent weight to every structure, and part may lie in even greater concentrations further out, beyond the Great Attractor, contributing their own distant pull. The Norma Cluster is a central player, but not the whole story, one great weight among several conspiring to draw us onward. The The 125th fact is that the Norma Cluster is not alone but sits amid a whole crowd of galaxy clusters and groups, all gathered in the central region of the Great Attractor. Around it lie other rich gatherings of galaxies, drawn close by the same gravity, forming together a dense and crowded heart. It is this whole concentration, the Norma Cluster and its many companions, that makes up the central mass of the Great Attractor. No single cluster is the sole cause of the pull. Rather, it is the collective weight of all this crowded gathering, heaped together in one region of the sky, that reaches out to sway the motion of galaxies far away. The 126th fact is that measuring the mass of a cluster like Norma is done not by weighing it directly, which no scale could do, but by watching how its galaxies move within it. The galaxies of a cluster swarm about their common center, drawn by the cluster's gravity, and the faster they swarm, the greater the mass that must be holding them. By measuring these motions, astronomers can weigh the cluster from afar, reckoning its total mass from the speed of its members. And when they do, they find that most of the mass must be dark, unseen, far exceeding the shining stuff of the galaxies themselves, a hidden weight revealed only by the swarming of the visible. The 127th fact is that the galaxies within the Norma Cluster move at tremendous speeds, thousands of kilometers a second, whirling about the cluster's heart in a great and ceaseless swarm. Such speeds are the sign of a very deep well of gravity, for only an immense mass could stir the galaxies to move so fast without flinging them away. Watching this swarm, astronomers read the depth of the well, and thereby the mass of the cluster. It is a strange and beautiful way to weigh a thing so vast, by the frenzy of its parts, to feel the invisible mass through the swiftness of the galaxies it holds in its unseen embrace. The 128th fact is that the Norma Cluster, lying deep within the Zone of Avoidance, was one of the great prizes won by astronomers who learned to see through the veil of the Milky Way. For years it was suspected but poorly known, hidden behind the crowded galactic plane. As radio, infrared, and X-ray telescopes pierced the curtain, the cluster stepped into fuller view, revealing itself as a central mass of the Great Attractor. Its unveiling was a milestone, a confirmation that a truly great concentration of matter lay just where the flow of galaxies had pointed, hidden all along behind the soft and glowing band of our own galaxy's light. The 129th fact is that within the Norma Cluster, as within all great clusters, the galaxies are not the placid spirals of the quiet countryside but often battered and reshaped by their crowded life. In such dense gatherings, galaxies pass close to one another, their gravity tugging and distorting, sometimes stripping away gas or drawing out long streamers of stars. Many become smooth, featureless ellipticals, their spiral arms long since smoothed away by the roughness of cluster life. The Norma Cluster is thus a place of gentle cosmic violence, where galaxies are slowly transformed by the press of their neighbors, a crowded city that leaves its mark upon all who dwell within it. The 130th fact is that near the center of the Norma Cluster, as in many great clusters, there sits a single enormous galaxy, grown vast by devouring its smaller neighbors over the ages. These giant central galaxies are among the largest in the cosmos, swollen by countless mergers, sitting at the deepest point of the cluster's gravity like a great old ruler at the heart of a crowded kingdom. Around it the lesser galaxies swarm and fall, and one by one, over billions of years, some are drawn in and absorbed. It is a slow and stately kind of growth, the central giant feeding gently on its surroundings, ruling the deep heart of the cluster. The 131st fact is that the hot gas filling the Norma Cluster is so hot, tens of millions of degrees, that it shines not in visible light at all but only in X-rays, invisible to our eyes, This gas holds more ordinary matter than all the cluster's galaxies combined. A vast, thin, glowing atmosphere spread across millions of light-years. To map it, astronomers turn X-ray telescopes upon the cluster and see the great luminous cloud that binds the whole gathering. It is a reminder that most of the ordinary matter in a cluster lies not in the galaxies at all, but in this hidden hot gas between them, felt and seen only in the high energies of X-ray light. The 132nd fact is that the concentrations of mass doing the pulling are best pictured not as a single point but as a broad and crowded region, a great heaping of clusters and gas and dark matter. The Great Attractor is not a thing but a place, a region where an unusual abundance of mass has gathered over the long ages of the cosmos. The Norma Cluster is its brightest landmark, but the true pull comes from the sum of everything heaped there: the visible galaxies, the hot gas, and above all the vast, unseen dark matter. It is this whole crowded gathering, taken together, that reaches out to draw our distant galaxy onward. The 133rd fact is that the dark matter within and around the Norma Cluster, though it gives off no light, may make up the greater part of the Great Attractor's pull. We cannot see it, cannot touch it, cannot gather its light in any telescope, for it neither shines nor blocks the light of others. We know it only by its gravity, by the way it bends the motions of galaxies and holds the hot gas in place. In the Great Attractor, as everywhere in the cosmos, this unseen substance is the silent majority, the hidden weight behind the visible, the dark and patient scaffolding upon which the shining galaxies are hung. The 134th fact is that studying the mass concentrations of the Great Attractor has helped astronomers test their deepest ideas about how structure forms in the universe. The pattern of clusters and flows, the amounts of visible and dark matter, the way galaxies gather toward the heavy places, all of these can be compared with the great computer models that simulate the growth of the cosmos. When the real Great Attractor matches the models, our confidence in our understanding grows. And so this hidden region becomes a proving ground, a place where the grand theory of cosmic structure is quietly checked against the truth written in the drifting of the galaxies. The 135th fact is that the Norma Cluster and its companions did not spring into being all at once, but grew slowly over billions of years, gathering galaxies from the surrounding cosmic web. In the young universe, matter was spread more smoothly, and the great clusters were only gentle overdensities, slightly richer patches drawing their neighbors inward. Over the long ages, these patches grew, pulling in more and more, until they became the crowded cities of galaxies we see today. The Great Attractor's central mass is the fruit of this patient gathering, a structure billions of years in the building, still, even now, slowly drawing in the galaxies that flow toward it. The 136th fact is that the flow of galaxies toward the Norma Cluster and the Great Attractor is fed along great filaments of the cosmic web, glowing threads of galaxies streaming inward. The cosmos is laced with these filaments, bridges of galaxies and gas and dark matter connecting the great clusters across the voids. Along them, matter flows toward the heavy nodes, like water gathering into streams and streams into rivers. The Great Attractor sits at the meeting of several such filaments, a great confluence toward which the galaxies pour. Our own Milky Way drifts along one of these threads, carried gently inward toward the crowded heart with all our fellow travelers. The 137th fact is that the more astronomers studied the mass of the Great Attractor, the more they came to suspect that it was not the deepest cause of our motion, but a way station on the road to something greater. The Norma Cluster and its companions, immense as they are, seem to fall a little short of explaining the full pull. And beyond them, further out in the same direction, an even mightier concentration was found to lie. The Great Attractor thus began to look less like a final destination and more like a great landmark along a longer flow, a crowded heart that is itself being drawn, gently, toward a deeper and more distant weight. The 138th fact is that the very name Great Attractor now carries a certain historical charm, a reminder of the days when it seemed the whole answer, before we learned how much more lay beyond. When it was first named, it was thought to be the dominant pull upon our region, the great and singular cause of the flow. As our maps deepened, we came to see it as one part of a larger pattern, sharing the work of pulling with concentrations further out. Yet the old name endures, a fond memorial to a time of discovery, when a single hidden mass first announced itself through the gentle drifting of the distant galaxies. The 139th fact is that the Norma Cluster, once so obscure, is now recognized as one of the key structures of our local cosmos. A cornerstone of the map of Laniakea, it sits near the deep heart of our supercluster, a great and lasting anchor around which the flows converge. What was once a faint suspicion behind the veil of the Milky Way has become a landmark of the first importance, a place astronomers return to again and again as they refine their understanding of the pull. From hidden mystery to charted cornerstone, the Norma Cluster's story mirrors that of the Great Attractor itself, a secret slowly and patiently brought into the light. The 140th fact is that to picture the mass at the heart of the Great Attractor is to picture a great and crowded gathering in the dark, a city of galaxies wrapped in glowing gas and unseen matter, patiently drawing us home. There, hundreds of millions of light-years away, behind the curtain of our own galaxy, the Norma Cluster and its companions heap together their immense weight, reaching out across the void to sway our gentle drift. It asks nothing of us, threatens nothing, only draws softly and endlessly, as it has since long before we were born. And we may rest in the thought of it, a great quiet weight in the far dark, calling us gently onward through the night. The 141st fact is that far beyond the Great Attractor, in the same broad direction of the sky, lies an even greater concentration of mass, the immense Shapley Supercluster, where the Great Attractor gathers thousands of galaxies. The Shapley Supercluster gathers tens of thousands, a vaster and deeper heaping of matter still further out in the dark. It lies roughly 650 million light-years away, far beyond the Great Attractor's nearer heart, and it may be that a large part of our long drift is owed, in truth, to the distant pull of Shapley, reaching gently across an even greater gulf of space. The 142nd fact is that the Shapley Supercluster is the largest concentration of galaxies known in our part of the cosmos, a great and crowded metropolis of galaxy clusters gathered close together. It contains many rich clusters, each a great city of galaxies in its own right, all heaped into one enormous region. If the Great Attractor is a crowded town, then Shapley is a sprawling capital, denser and vaster, holding a truly staggering amount of mass. To gaze in its direction is to look toward the greatest gathering of matter our nearby universe has to offer, a deep and distant weight beyond the nearer pull that first drew our attention. The 143rd fact is that the Shapley Supercluster is named for the astronomer Harlow Shapley, who first noticed an unusual richness of galaxies in that direction long ago. In the early decades of the 20th century, Shapley cataloged the galaxies of the southern sky and remarked upon a striking concentration in the constellation of Centaurus, though he could not yet know its true nature or scale. Decades later, as astronomers mapped the region more fully, they recognized it as a supercluster of extraordinary size, and they honored Shapley's early notice by giving the great structure his name, a memorial to the keen eye that first marked its richness. The 144th fact is that the discovery of the Shapley Supercluster helped answer a lingering puzzle: why our motion seemed to carry on beyond what the Great Attractor alone could explain. The Great Attractor's mass, when carefully reckoned, fell somewhat short of accounting for our full 600 kilometers a second. But the Shapley Supercluster, lying beyond it in the same direction, could supply the rest, its distant but immense gravity adding to the pull. And so our motion is now understood as the sum of two great influences at least, the nearer Great Attractor and the farther, mightier Shapley, both drawing us onward along the same long road. The 145th fact is that Shapley lies about 3 or 4 times further away than the Great Attractor, and yet, because it holds so much more mass, its distant pull still reaches us meaningfully across the gulf. Gravity weakens with distance, and so a far structure must be very massive indeed to sway us from so far away. The Shapley Supercluster is massive enough. Even at 650 million light-years, its immense gathering of galaxies tugs gently upon our whole region, adding its far weight to the nearer pull of the Great Attractor. It is a striking thought that something so unimaginably distant should still, quietly, help set our course. The 146th fact is that some astronomers now think the Great Attractor and the Shapley Supercluster may be part of one great connected structure, a vast flowing of galaxies along a shared filament of the cosmic web. In this view, the Great Attractor is not wholly separate from Shapley, but the nearer part of a single grand concentration, a great river of galaxies streaming toward the deep heart at Shapley. Our own galaxy would then lie far out along this river, drifting inward toward the whole. Whether they are two structures or one, the picture is the same, a great gathering of mass in that direction, deeper and vaster than we once knew, drawing us slowly on. The 147th fact is that the Shapley Supercluster contains some of the most massive galaxy clusters known, great and ancient cities of galaxies bound tightly by their own tremendous gravity. Among them are clusters holding thousands of galaxies each, wrapped in vast clouds of hot gas glowing in X-rays. These are the true giants of the nearby cosmos, and Shapley gathers many of them into one region, an assembly of assemblies, a supercluster crowded with the mightiest structures the universe builds. It is little wonder that so great a gathering should reach out across hundreds of millions of light-years to lay its gentle hand upon our own distant drift. The 148th fact is that the study of the Shapley Supercluster carries us to the very edge of what we can call our nearby cosmos, out where the familiar landmarks fade and the great structures grow dim with distance. At 650 million light-years, Shapley lies far beyond the galaxies we know best, in a realm where mapping grows difficult and every measurement is hard-won. And yet it is close enough that its clusters can still be studied one by one, its mass reckoned, its influence upon us traced. Shapley marks a kind of frontier, the deepest of the great pulls whose tug upon our galaxy we can still hope to measure and understand. The 149th fact is that the light we gather from the Shapley Supercluster set out some 650 million years ago, in an age when the Earth's oceans held only the simplest and softest of living things. When that light began its journey, there were no plants upon the land, no creatures with bones, only the gentle stirrings of early life in ancient seas. All the long history of complex life upon the Earth has unfolded in the time it took that light to reach us. To look toward Shapley is thus to look across an almost unfathomable depth of time as well as space, to see a distant gathering of galaxies as it was before our world had scarcely begun its living story. The 150th fact is that even the Shapley Supercluster, mighty as it is, does not fully settle the question of our motion, for the cosmos is deep, and pulls may lie beyond pulls, further than we can yet trace. Astronomers still debate how much of our drift is owed to the Great Attractor, how much to Shapley, and how much to structures even more distant. Each new survey refines the answer a little. What is clear is that our motion is woven from many threads, near and far, and that the deeper we look, the more distant the sources of the pull appear to reach, receding gently before our understanding into the far dark. The 151st fact is that the immense mass of the Shapley Supercluster, like that of the Great Attractor, is dominated by dark matter, the unseen substance that outweighs all the shining galaxies many times over. The visible clusters are but the glinting crests of a far greater hidden weight. When astronomers reckon the full mass of Shapley from the motions of its galaxies and the glow of its hot gas, they find that most of it gives off no light at all. The greatest gathering of matter in our nearby cosmos is thus, in the main, a gathering of darkness, a vast and silent presence felt only through the gentle pull it lays upon the distant, drifting galaxies. The 152nd fact is that the flow of galaxies in our region, when mapped carefully, seems to stream past the Great Attractor and onward toward Shapley, as though the nearer structure were merely a stop along a deeper current. This was a subtle and important finding, for it suggested that the Great Attractor does not gather everything to itself, but that much of the flow continues beyond it, drawn on by the greater mass further out. Our galaxy rides this deeper current, leaning past the Great Attractor toward the distant Shapley concentration. The true bottom of the Great Basin, it seems, may lie not at the Great Attractor at all, but far beyond, in the crowded heart of Shapley. The 153rd fact is that the sheer scale of the Shapley Supercluster stretches the imagination even beyond that of Laniakea, for it gathers a mass that beggars all ordinary comparison. To hold so many rich clusters in one region, each with its thousands of galaxies and its vast dark halo, requires a concentration of matter almost beyond conceiving. And yet there it sits, out in the deep dark toward Centaurus, a great and quiet metropolis of galaxies, gathered patiently over the long ages of the cosmos. It is among the grandest structures we have ever charted, and its gentle pull, reaching across the void, helps guide the drift of our own small galaxy. The 154th fact is that the discovery of ever deeper pulls, from the Great Attractor to Shapley and perhaps beyond, tells a story of humility, of a home that keeps opening outward the further we look. Each time we think we have found the deepest cause of our motion, a greater one appears beyond it. Our galaxy is drawn toward the Great Attractor, and the Great Attractor toward Shapley, and Shapley perhaps toward something deeper still. The cosmos reveals itself as a nested hierarchy of pulls, receding gently into the dark, and we are left with a sense not of a fixed home but of an endless leaning, ever onward, into the vast and patient night. The 155th fact is that the Shapley Supercluster reminds us how the largest structures of the cosmos are still being felt out, mapped in pieces, their full extent uncertain even now. For all our great telescopes and careful surveys, the deep geography of our region remains a work in progress, its boundaries soft, its deepest pulls still debated. Shapley marks the current edge of our understanding, the greatest known gathering whose tug we can trace. Beyond it lies the not yet known, the further structures that surveys have only begun to hint at. We stand, in a sense, at the frontier of our own cosmic map, gazing toward a horizon that keeps gently receding. The 156th fact is that the study of Shapley and the Great Attractor together has given astronomers a richer sense of how galaxies flow across the greatest scales, following the invisible slopes of dark matter. From these studies emerges a picture of the cosmos as a great flowing landscape, galaxies streaming down the gradients of gravity toward the deep and heavy places. The Great Attractor and Shapley are the deepest nearby basins in that landscape, and the flows around them trace its hidden shape. To map these flows is to map the dark matter itself, indirectly, through the gentle motions of the galaxies it guides, a way of seeing the unseen by watching how it moves the scene. The 157th fact is that despite its overwhelming mass, the Shapley Supercluster, like Laniakea, is too loosely gathered to hold itself together forever against the expansion of the universe. Its clusters are bound, each within itself, but the supercluster as a whole is not, and over the vast ages to come, the great outward stretching of space will slowly draw its parts apart. Even so mighty a gathering as Shapley is, in the end, a temporary thing, a grand concentration caught in a passing moment of cosmic time. Its immense pull shapes the present, but the far future belongs to expansion, which will gently unmake even the greatest of the superclusters. The 158th fact is that the pull of Shapley upon us, gentle as it is across so vast a distance, is a beautiful demonstration of the long reach of gravity, which fades but never truly ends. No matter how far apart two masses lie, each still feels the other, if only faintly. The Shapley Supercluster, 650 million light-years away, still tugs upon our galaxy, adding its whisper to the pull that guides our drift. Gravity respects no boundary, no distance too great. It only weakens gently with the growing gulf. And so even the far Shapley, at the very edge of our nearby cosmos, keeps its soft and patient hold upon us. The 159th fact is that in the great chain of pulls, from our local group toward the Great Attractor, and past it toward Shapley, we glimpse the true grandeur of the structures that shape our motion. We are not drawn by a single hand but by a whole succession of them, each larger and more distant than the last, all leaning us the same way through the dark. To trace this chain is to feel the full depth of the cosmos, layer upon layer of gathering mass, receding into the far distance. And our small galaxy rides gently upon it all, carried onward by pulls so vast and so remote that the mind can only bow before them. The 160th fact is that to contemplate the Shapley Supercluster is to feel the reach of the cosmos in one's very bones, to know that something 650 million light-years away still softly helps to guide us home. Out there, in the far dark toward Centaurus, the greatest gathering of galaxies we know lies patiently heaped, its immense and silent gravity brushing gently against our own long drift. We will never approach it, never see it clearly, and yet it helps set our course through the night. And there is a quiet wonder in that, to be so gently steered by so distant a hand, and to rest untroubled within the great and patient pull. The 161st fact is that even as the Great Attractor and the Shapley Supercluster draw us gently onward, a deeper and stranger force works against them, the mysterious dark energy that pushes the whole universe to expand ever faster. For the cosmos is not merely coasting outward from its fiery birth. Its expansion is quietly accelerating, driven by something woven into the very fabric of empty space. This dark energy opposes gravity on the largest scales, gently prying the great structures apart. And so the pull of the Great Attractor and the push of dark energy are locked in a slow and stately contest, playing out across billions of years. The 162nd fact is that dark energy is one of the deepest mysteries in all of science, a something that fills all of space and pushes it to expand, yet gives off no light and has no substance we can hold. It seems to be a property of empty space itself, a faint pressure woven into the vacuum, growing in total effect as space grows. The more the universe expands, the more of this dark energy there is, and so the expansion quickens. We know it only by its grand effect upon the cosmos, this gentle and relentless stretching, working silently against the gathering pull of gravity across the greatest distances. The 163rd fact is that on small scales, gravity easily wins, and so galaxies and clusters hold firmly together despite the expansion of space. The Earth does not drift from the Sun, nor the sun from the galaxy, nor the galaxies of a bound cluster from one another. Within these tightly gathered structures, gravity's grip is far stronger than the gentle push of dark energy. It is only on the very largest scales, across the loose and sprawling superclusters, that the balance tips and expansion begins to win. The Great Attractor holds its central clusters, but the wider flow toward it will, in the end, be undone by the stretching of space. The 164th fact is that the fate of Laniakea, our own supercluster, is to slowly come undone, its galaxies drifting apart as dark energy stretches the space between them, for Laniakea is not tightly bound. It is a loose gathering, held together only weakly by the flows that define it. As the expansion accelerates, those flows will falter, and the galaxies that now stream toward the Great Attractor will, over the vast ages, be carried apart instead. Our immeasurable heaven, so recently discovered, is already, in the deep future, destined to dissolve, its unity a passing feature of this particular moment in the long life of the cosmos. The 165th fact is that the contest between the pull of the great attractors and the push of dark energy has, over cosmic history, already turned in favor of expansion some billions of years ago. For much of the early universe, gravity held the upper hand, slowing the cosmic expansion as the great structures gathered. But as space grew and matter thinned, dark energy came gradually to dominate, and the expansion began to accelerate. We live in the age of that turning, when the balance has tipped and the great structures have begun their slow drift apart. The flows we measure today are, in a sense, the last great gatherings before the long dispersal. The 166th fact is that in the far future, dark energy will carry distant galaxies so far and so fast that their light will no longer reach us at all, and the sky will slowly empty. As the expansion accelerates, galaxies beyond our own bound neighborhood will recede ever faster, until they cross a horizon past which their light can never catch us. One by one, over unimaginable ages, they will fade from view, and the deep cosmos will grow dark and lonely. The Great Attractor, the Shapley Supercluster, all the great gatherings we now study, will in the deep future drift beyond our sight, leaving only our own merged galaxy adrift in an emptying dark. The 167th fact is that this future emptying of the sky is unimaginably distant, so far off that it need trouble no one. Unfolding across tens and hundreds of billions of years, the universe is young enough yet that the great structures still shine plainly in our telescopes, still draw us gently onward. The long dispersal lies so far ahead that all of human history, all the ages of the earth, are but the faintest flicker before it. And so the fading of the cosmos is not a sorrow for us, but a distant and gentle fact, a quiet turning of the far future that we may contemplate in wonder without any shadow of fear. The 168th fact is that the discovery of dark energy, in the closing years of the 20th century, transformed our understanding of the fate of everything, including our drift toward the Great Attractor. Before, astronomers wondered whether gravity might one day halt the expansion and draw all the galaxies back together. But dark energy revealed that expansion would instead accelerate, carrying the great structures apart forever. And so our motion toward the Great Attractor, real as it is now, was recast as a passing lean rather than a lasting fall, a gentle drift that the widening of space will, in the end, gently overrule. The 169th fact is that in a universe without dark energy, our galaxy and its neighbors might one day have gathered fully into the Great Attractor, drawn all the way in over the ages. The flows would have continued, the galaxies streaming steadily toward the crowded heart, until our whole region merged into one great and growing structure. But dark energy changes the story. The flows will falter before they finish, the gathering will halt partway, and the galaxies will begin to drift apart instead. We are watching, in a sense, an unfinished gathering, a great coming together that will never quite complete, interrupted forever by the quiet push of expanding space. The 170th fact is that the bound structures, the galaxies and the tightly held clusters, will survive the long dispersal, islands of gathered matter adrift in an ever-widening dark. The Milky Way and Andromeda will merge into a single great galaxy, and that galaxy will endure, held firmly by its own gravity. The Norma Cluster will hold its galaxies close. But the loose ties between the clusters, the flows, and the superclusters will loosen and part. In the far future, the cosmos will be a scattering of isolated, bound islands, each alone in its own patch of emptiness, the great connecting flows long since undone by the stretching of space. The 171st fact is that there is a strange and gentle symmetry in this story, that the very same early ripples which gathered the galaxies into flows will, in the end, yield to the expansion that pulls them apart. Gravity built the great structures, patiently, over billions of years, gathering matter toward the heavy places. And dark energy will, over billions more, gently take them down again, stretching the space between until the flows dissolve. The cosmos gathers, and then it disperses, a slow breathing in and breathing out across spans of time so vast that our whole existence is but a single quiet moment held within them. The 172nd fact is that dark energy's push and the Great Attractor's pull are not felt at all in our daily lives, for both are gentle beyond measure, working only across the greatest scales and the longest ages, within our galaxy, within our solar system, within our own small world. Gravity reigns quietly and dark energy is nowhere to be felt. It is only when we lift our gaze to the grandest structures, to the flows of galaxies across hundreds of millions of light years, that these great opposing forces reveal themselves. They shape the cosmos as a whole, and yet they leave our nights as calm and still as they have ever been, untroubled by the vast contest unfolding far above. The 173rd fact is that to understand dark energy, astronomers study the very flows and structures we have followed tonight. For the balance between gathering and expansion is written in how the galaxies move. By measuring the great flows toward the Great Attractor and beyond, and comparing them with the expansion of space, astronomers can probe the strength of dark energy and the amount of matter in the cosmos. The Great Attractor thus becomes, once again, an instrument, a place where the deepest questions of the universe's fate are quietly tested. In studying what pulls us, we learn also what pushes the cosmos apart, and how the long contest between them will unfold. The 174th fact is that the name dark energy, like the name Great Attractor, is really a confession of mystery, a placeholder for something we feel but do not yet understand. We know that the expansion of the universe is accelerating, and we call the cause dark energy, but its true nature remains one of the deepest unsolved puzzles in all of science. It may be a property of empty space or something stranger still. And so, in our story of the Great Pull, we meet at the end a great push equally mysterious, two vast and unknown things shaping the cosmos, both named for our wonder rather than our knowledge. The 175th fact is that despite the long dispersal to come, the present universe remains richly connected, its galaxies still flowing, still gathered, still drawn toward the great heavy places. We live in a favored age, when the great structures still shine and the flows still carry us gently onward. The emptying of the sky lies unimaginably far ahead, and for now the cosmos is full of light and motion and connection. Our drift toward the Great Attractor is a living thing, happening now, in this bright and gathered moment of cosmic time, before the slow expansion has yet undone the great and beautiful web of galaxies. The 176th fact is that there is a quiet comfort in knowing that the bound structures will endure, that even in the far and emptying future, gathered islands of matter will remain, holding their galaxies close. Our own descendant galaxy, the great merger of the Milky Way and Andromeda, will drift on through the widening dark, still shining, still holding its stars. It will grow lonely as the distant galaxies fade from view, but it will not dissolve. There is a kind of faithfulness in that, a promise that gravity keeps even as expansion reshapes the cosmos, gathering its own close and holding them, gently, through the long ages to come. The 177th fact is that the story of pull and push of the Great Attractor and dark energy is really the story of the whole universe's life, its gathering youth and its dispersing old age. In its youth, the cosmos drew itself together, matter flowing toward the heavy places, building the galaxies and clusters and superclusters. In its old age, it will loosen and spread, the great structures drifting apart under the gentle press of dark energy. We live in the long middle of this life, when both forces are felt, when the gathering has not quite finished and the dispersing has only just begun, a rich and balanced moment in the great arc of cosmic time. The 178th fact is that to hold both truths at once, the pull that gathers us and the push that will part us, is to glimpse the deep and gentle rhythm of the cosmos, and to find peace within it. We are drawn toward the Great Attractor now, bound in the great flow of Laniakea, and yet the far future holds a slow and quiet parting. There is no tragedy in this, only the natural breathing of a universe far older and larger than ourselves. And in contemplating it, we may feel not fear but a strange serenity, a sense of belonging to something vast and patient, whose long story includes both the gathering and the letting go. The 179th fact is that the contest between the Great Attractor's pull and dark energies push unfolds so slowly that, on any human scale, it is simply the stillness of a starlit night. The gathering and the dispersing alike are written in billions of years, far beyond the reach of any single life, or any nation, or any age of the world. For us, here and now, there is only the calm and beautiful cosmos as it is tonight, full of galaxies and flowing gently onward. The great forces work their patient work far above, and leave us to our rest, undisturbed beneath the quiet and enduring stars. The 180th fact is that when you consider the pull that draws us and the push that will one day part the galaxies, you may feel, above all, a deep and calming sense of proportion, of how small and safe our own small night truly is. The vast contest of gravity and dark energy shapes the fate of everything, and yet it asks nothing of you, disturbs nothing of your rest. You may lie still beneath it all, gathered gently into your own small place in the great flow, and let the immense and unhurried rhythm of the cosmos carry you softly towards sleep, as it carries our whole galaxy, patiently, through the endless dark. The 181st fact is that when we set our small world against the great structures we have followed tonight, we feel the full and gentle weight of our smallness, and there is peace to be found in it. Our whole planet is a speck around one ordinary star, among hundreds of billions in a galaxy, among 100,000 galaxies in Laniakea, all drifting toward the Great Attractor and beyond. Against such scales, our troubles grow soft and small, our worries lose their sharp edges. To feel so tiny within so vast a cosmos is not to be diminished, but to be quietly unburdened, set gently free from the heaviness of our own small concerns. The 182nd fact is that everything you have ever known, every person, every place, every hope and sorrow, has unfolded upon a single small world adrift in the great flow toward the Great Attractor. All of human history, all its cities and songs and long-remembered stories, have taken place on this one gentle speck, carried silently across the cosmos. The whole vast drama of our kind is bound to this small and drifting home. And there is a tenderness in that thought, a sense of how precious and how gathered our little world is. One bright and living moment held within the immense and patient dark. The 183rd fact is that the same gravity that draws our galaxy toward the Great Attractor is the gravity that holds you gently to your bed tonight. One law of nature reaching from the smallest to the greatest. It is a single, quiet force, the same in the falling of a leaf and in the flowing of 100,000 galaxies. To feel your own weight upon the bed is to feel, in the smallest way, the very thing that guides our whole supercluster through the dark. There is a lovely unity in that the cosmos and your resting body obey one gentle rule, and that you are woven, through gravity, into the great and flowing whole. The 184th fact is that the atoms of your body, the very stuff of which you are made, were forged in ancient stars and scattered through the galaxy long before the Earth was born. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen you breathe, all were made in the hearts of stars that lived and died in ages past. You are, quite literally, gathered starlight, a small and living piece of the same cosmos that flows toward the Great Attractor. And so you are not a stranger to the great structures of the night, but their kin, made of the same stuff, belonging wholly and deeply to the drifting universe you gaze upon. The 185th fact is that our brief lives, set against the billions of years of the great flows, are like the softest and most fleeting of moments, and yet they are ours whole and complete. The Great Attractor has drawn our galaxy for ages beyond counting, and will draw it for ages more, while a human life is but a single quiet breath within that span. And yet within that breath is held everything, all our loving and our wondering, our waking and our rest. There is no sorrow in our brevity, only a gentle preciousness, a sense that this small and passing moment of ours is a rare and lovely thing to have been given at all. The 186th fact is that to know we are moving, drifting toward the Great Attractor through the vast dark, and yet to feel so perfectly still, is one of the great and gentle paradoxes of our existence. We are travelers who feel no travel, voyagers upon a ship so smooth that it seems the very ground of stillness itself. And in that paradox there is deep rest, for it means we may be carried without effort, borne onward through the cosmos while we lie quietly at peace. The great motion asks nothing of us, and so we may surrender to it fully, and let it carry us, as it always has, softly through the night. The 187th fact is that the great structures of the cosmos, the attractors and the superclusters and the flowing web, are far older than any story we have ever told, and will endure long after all our stories are forgotten. They were drawing the galaxies together before the Earth had cooled, before there was any eye to see them, and they will drift on long after we are gone. There is a strange comfort in that endurance, in belonging, however briefly, to something so vast and so lasting. We are a small and passing part of a great and ancient whole, and to know it is to feel gently held within a cosmos far older and kinder than our fears. The 188th fact is that of all the countless galaxies flowing toward the Great Attractor, ours is the only one we know to hold a world where someone lies listening quietly to a story of the stars. Whether we are truly alone, or whether other quiet listeners drift in other galaxies, we cannot yet say. But here, on this one small world, in the great flow of Laniakea, a mind is awake and wondering, gathering the light of the cosmos and turning it gently into meaning. That is a rare and precious thing, perhaps, in all the vast dark, and you are, tonight, a part of it, one small awareness adrift among the drifting stars. The 189th fact is that when you gaze toward the southern sky, toward the faint stars of Centaurus and Norma, you look in the very direction our whole galaxy is being drawn. Though you can see nothing of the pull itself, the Great Attractor hides there, behind the veil of the Milky Way, silent and unseen, and yet you may lift your eyes toward it and know that you are looking along the path of our long drift. There is a quiet intimacy in that, to face the direction of our journey, to gaze toward the hidden heart of the flow, and to feel yourself gently leaning, with the whole of your galaxy, toward the far and patient dark. The 190th fact is that the study of the Great Attractor is, in the end, a study of belonging, of learning where we are and to what vast whole we belong. From the Earth to the Sun, from the Sun to the galaxy, from the galaxy to the local group, to Laniakea, to the great flow toward the Great Attractor and Shapley beyond, each step has enlarged our sense of home. We belong not to a single small place but to a great and flowing structure, immense beyond imagining, and yet ours. And to know this belonging is to feel less alone in the dark, gathered gently into the vast and drifting company of the galaxies. The 191st fact is that the more we learn of the great pulls and the flowing web, the more the cosmos seems not cold and empty, but woven and connected, everything drawn gently toward everything else. Gravity binds the whole together, reaching across the void, gathering the galaxies into flows and the flows into superclusters, all leaning quietly toward one another. It is a universe not of isolation but of connection, of a vast and silent reaching out across the dark. And we are part of that reaching, bound by the same gentle force, drawn with our galaxy toward the Great Attractor, woven into the great and connected whole. The 192nd fact is that for all its immensity, the cosmos moves with a deep and unhurried calm, its greatest structures drifting so slowly that 1,000 human lifetimes would scarcely mark their passage. There is no rush in the flow toward the Great Attractor, no urgency in the drift of Laniakea, only the slow and stately motion of the ages. And in that great calm there is a lesson and a comfort for us, small and hurried as we often are. The universe takes its time, patient beyond all measure, and we may learn from it to let go of our own haste, and to rest, as the galaxies rest, gently within the long unfolding of things. The 193rd fact is that the light now reaching your eyes from the deep sky is ancient, gathered from across vast gulfs of time, so that to look outward is always, in some measure, to look into the past. The stars you see shine with light that left them years or centuries ago, and the distant galaxies with light far older still. When you gaze into the night, you gaze into the long history of the cosmos, layer upon layer of the past laid gently before you. There is a soft and dreamlike quality to that, to know that the night sky is a kind of memory, the cosmos remembering itself in light, spread out quietly above your resting head. The 194th fact is that the Great Attractor, hidden and mysterious as it remains, is a gentle reminder that the universe still holds secrets, still keeps some of its deep places veiled from us. For all our great telescopes and careful maps, we do not yet fully understand what draws us, nor all that lies behind the curtain of the Milky Way. And there is something lovely in that lingering mystery, a sense that wonder need never run out, that the cosmos will always hold more than we know. To fall asleep beneath a sky still full of secrets is to rest within a mystery larger and kinder than ourselves, and to trust the dark to keep its wonders safe. The 195th fact is that everything we have followed tonight, the flows and the attractors, the clusters and the superclusters, unfolds far, far above the quiet world where you now lie, touching nothing of your rest. The great pull draws our galaxy across hundreds of millions of light years, And yet your room is still, your breathing soft, your bed warm and unmoving beneath you. The vast cosmos does its patient work in the deep dark and asks nothing of you at all. And so you may hold these wonders lightly, as beautiful things to drift upon, and let them carry your thoughts gently outward and away, toward sleep, while your small world rests in perfect peace. The 196th fact is that to contemplate the Great Attractor is, in the end, to be given a gift, the gift of feeling small and safe and gathered, all at once, within an immense and gentle cosmos. We are tiny beyond measure, and yet we belong. We are adrift, and yet we are held. We are carried by forces vast beyond imagining, and yet we rest in perfect calm. This is the quiet blessing of the great pull, that it reminds us how held we truly are, gathered with our galaxy into the flowing whole, borne gently onward through a universe far kinder to our rest than we might ever have feared. The 197th fact is that as this long night draws toward its close, you may let all the great distances soften and blur, and keep only the gentle feeling of being carried, quietly, through the dark. There is nothing you must remember, nothing you must hold, nothing at all you need to do. The Great Attractor draws our galaxy whether you wake or sleep, and the vast flow carries you as tenderly as a cradle. So let the numbers and the names dissolve, and keep only the drift, the slow and silent motion of the cosmos, bearing you softly toward rest, as it bears all the galaxies gently through the night. The 198th fact is that in all the vast cosmos we have wandered through tonight, across hundreds of millions of light years and billions of years of time, there is really only one thing asked of you now, and that is simply to rest. The great flows will continue without you, patient and unhurried. The Great Attractor will draw us onward, as it always has, and you have nothing to carry, nothing to fear, nothing to hold on to at all. There is only the quiet and the drift, and the deep and gentle dark, gathering you softly in, as your breathing slows and your thoughts grow dim and the whole world grows peaceful around you. The 199th fact is that as your breathing softens and your body grows heavy and warm, you may imagine yourself drifting outward with our whole galaxy, silently, gently, across the vast and open dark toward the great and hidden pull. There is no hurry out there, no weight, no fear, only the slow and serene motion of the cosmos, carrying everything tenderly onward through the night. And you may let yourself drift with it now, easily, softly, sinking down into rest as our galaxy sinks toward the Great Attractor, released into the deep and welcoming dark, carried gently, and asked for nothing, and wholly at peace. The 200th fact is that long after this night has passed, and long after all our nights have passed, our galaxy will still be drifting onward through the dark, still leaning toward the great and hidden pull, carrying its small blue world where once, gently, someone lay listening and let themselves fall asleep. So let your thoughts grow quiet now, and let the last of the day dissolve into the dark, and drift outward softly, with our whole flowing galaxy, into the calm and endless night. Rest now, sleep well, and thank you for drifting with me beyond the stars.